You don't understand. This was the most frightening moment a mother could witness.
It became an addiction. Like, she started relying on it to help her escape her pain.
Rue, are you on drugs?
It became a source of trauma for her family. They will show us this, but they don't show us the solution. Okay, this is happening. How are you going to get over it? How are you going to find the love that you desperately seek? Welcome, my royal babes, back to my channel. This is your Queen Angel. And today, we are continuing our analysis of our Euphoria characters. Today is the main character, Rue. Let's get right into the video. So, with Rue, she's basically a drug addict due to a lack of a father figure because her father died, and she having a learning disability from a very young age and having to rely on prescription drugs. She turned to drugs as a means of escaping the pain of bereavement from her father's death. I don't know if when she began, she thought it would be an addiction, or maybe she thought it's going to be a one and done thing, like she's taking drugs. I don't know if she smoked, but she was taking drugs and then she take it once and then done, just to forget her pain. But it became an addiction. Like when you take drugs, when you start smoking, it becomes an addiction. She started relying on it to help her escape her pain, and her addiction kept gradually getting worse. And something that she thought she was doing for her to make her forget her pain, it became toxic for her family. It became a source of trauma for her family, especially for her younger sister, who also went through the same pain of also losing her father, but she was basically also losing her sister because she literally witnessed Rue, her sister, on the floor and vomiting and passed out. It seemed from other scenes that she initially attended church, but I feel like when she grew up, she started mocking it. Like, she's like, oh, if God is alive, then why did my father die? She didn't say that, but obviously it's going to be like that because she kept mocking it. And she also kept believing that God is unable to stop her drug addiction. However, like I said, God does not control her actions. We are beings of free will. We are not robots. So if she has an open mind and she's actually willing to be free from drugs, God would help her overcome it. Instead of her mocking God and behaving like God does not exist, or even if he exists, then he's whatever. If she actually is open-minded and humble to let God help her, God is going to help her. By building a relationship with God, she'll send her reliance on drugs to rely on God. Because like the Bible says, cast your cares and your worries onto God because he cares about you. So everything that she's worried about, she would cast it onto God instead. And God is going to be there for her. And that way she's able to get over this addiction to the drugs. And she's able to find the fatherly love that she desperately is seeking. The Euphoria characters, right? I'm like, a lot of people too are like that. Like, they are glamorizing drugs, alcohol, sex, things like that. But these are things that young children really go through. 17-year-olds. When I was in college, I came to this country like new, and I was seeing these children smoking, drinking. I was like, what is happening? And I was 17 then. The same age as these Euphoria characters. So it does happen. So they are showing us that these things happen and they have consequences. You're not just affecting you, but you're also affecting your loved ones. You are hurting your loved ones. But then they will show us this, but they don't show us the solution. Okay, this is happening. How are you going to get over it? How are you going to be better? How are you going to find the love that you desperately seek? How are you going to be healed from the inside out? What are you going to rely on? What are you going to depend on other than drugs and sex and toxic boyfriends? I mean, with Rue, they showed that she was going to therapy sessions for drugs to get over it, but she relapsed again. Why? Because it's not deep-rooted. It's not healing her from the inside out. Like, okay, do this and be free from drugs. And then what? So drugs basically became her escape from reality. Is it opioids? I don't even know what different kind of drugs they are. But it seems like a lot are in the hospital, but she just takes higher dosages. But I guess because she was on prescription drugs for so long and she had to take drugs for so long, she got used to it. So a relationship with God will help her to find the love and support that she needs to break free from any addiction. Because when you're in God, there's nothing that is too hard that you cannot overcome. So what Rue needs, like every other Euphoria character, is to actually find God and to actually know him for who he is. Not just see him as some being in the sky that watches everybody go through hell and do nothing about it, because it seems like that's what she believes. But even though she believes that, like, is it at a part when she took opioids, she took something and then she was like, God, please don't let me die.
Let me die.
You see, she said it, but it's not like she really believed it, but she didn't die. So it's like, that's God for you. That's literally God. You are literally supposed to die from it, but you are not dead. So that is God. But she doesn't acknowledge it. She doesn't see it. Oh, a coincidence. It's a coincidence, yet you asked God and it happened. So these are some key traits and their characteristics that define Rue. So basically, her addiction. She struggles with addiction to different kinds of drugs. I think the newest ones was opioids. That woman gave her. That woman is just, how she talks so calmly. Those kind of people, you should be scared of them. She gave it to her 10K worth of such hard drugs, knowing that she's not going to sell it or make any profit from it, just to basically enslave her. She uses them drugs to cope with her daily relationships and basically getting through life. And that affects her relationships, that affects her family, that affects her school life, that affects her life. At some point, they were basically forcing her. It was not like they were forcing her. She was not getting any more drugs. So she started going through withdrawal symptoms. And it was so hard to watch. There was saliva coming everywhere. She was sick. She kept puking. Oh my Lord. All these things also affecting her physical health. Because at some point, I feel like somebody said that she started to rely on drugs. Like the feel-good drug in her brain, serotonin. I don't know if it's right or not. That will cause her to feel good. It basically became impaired. So she had to rely on drugs to give her the same feeling good feeling. So if the drugs are taken away, then it starts to become, I don't know, basically how she became. Mental health issues. Rue also has mental health issues. I don't know, since she was young, she was diagnosed with, is it bipolar disorder? She was diagnosed with something. And I'm sure that must have made her feel like she's left out, like she's some alien and she does not belong. So of course that's going to cause depression. I feel like she was also dealing with suicidal thoughts and self-harm at some point. Even if she wasn't, everything that she has been through would cause that. Anxiety, things like that. Isolation. Rue is, especially compared to the other girls, she's mostly isolated. Especially since she's the main character. And she seems to live in her head a lot. I feel like what she was diagnosed with, I don't know if it was ADHD. I don't know what exactly she was diagnosed with. But it was like she lives in her head a lot. Since she does not talk to people that much. That's why I guess she's the narrator for everybody's story. She knows everything that is going on. But she's not really a part of it. So yeah. She's isolated from the world and just likes to rely on drugs as her body. Until she met Jews. So, this is how Rue's relationship with her parents and her bereavement may have led to her drug abuse and her problems. Because everything that happens with human beings, most of the time, it stems from childhood. How was your childhood like? Knowing the childhood of somebody would enable you to understand why somebody operates, how they are, their attachment style, how they relate to the opposite sex, how they relate in relationships. So, trauma and grief. So, Rue basically lost her father to cancer, and that caused so much trauma on her. I feel her because she's the oldest. You see, she's the eldest daughter. She may have felt like I don't know if she had a chance to say goodbye to him, but I'm sure no goodbyes will be enough. And as the eldest daughter, because she was older, she was able to understand what exactly was happening, and she was not able to register it well. She was not able to take it in well. Like when my mom and my dad's divorce also happened, because I was the older one and I knew exactly what was happening, it was so tough. I'm not saying my sister also didn't have it tough, but because I understood everything that was happening, I took it hard. I was always isolated from people. I did not want to go near people. I hated the opposite sex. My sister took it in a different way. I might talk about it some other time. But with me, it just hit me hard. So I feel like that's what happened with Rue too. The trauma made her depressed, anxious. With her younger sister, she knows at least she has Rue to look up to. That's why Rue became like her idol. So seeing Rue being all messed up and traumatized and all those things just made her younger sister, oh my goodness, I feel so bad for her. Seriously, I'm sure what is happening with Rue will affect her more than even the father's death. Because when the father died, Rue became the person that she looked up to. But with Rue, she does not have that. Her father was the person she looked up to, it seems, because of how traumatized she is from his death. Yeah, that may be why it affected Rue. It seems like it affected Rue a lot more. Overdosing. It suggested that maybe the medications that she was taking, she may have overdosed. And I'm not surprised, because if you have to live on medications every day, there's a high chance that you can either underdose or you overdose. So her mom may have given her more drugs. It seemed in one of the scenes, but we are not very sure. So she may have been overdosed on her prescription drugs and started to get an addiction to the drugs. That's why it fueled more into harder drugs. And even with what she had, with the disorder that she had, they didn't need to put her on drugs. Like, when I'm working in the care sector and also the health sector, there's something called stop the over medication. Basically, stop over medication or over prescribing of medication. It's not everything that needs drugs. Especially as a young child, you don't need drugs for everything, because when you are younger, your brain is wired in a different way. I'm not trying to give any advice, diagnosis, or whatsoever medical advice, but I'm just saying it from my perspective that it's not everything that you need to be relying on drugs. Like, my stomach hurts, okay, take a drug. This and I take a drug. Like, this may have caused her to get addicted to drugs. It may have also made her think her brain is flawed. That's why she has to take so many drugs to keep up with the other kids. And she may have felt like drugs are the fix. So if drugs are the fix for her disorder, then drugs must also be the fix for her father's death.
She'll struggle. And in turn, you'll struggle to understand her.
I guess when she reasoned like that, it kind of made sense. Because when she relied on drugs, she seemed to be feeling better. Abandonment issues. This can go both ways. Because her father died, she may have felt abandoned. I keep saying may because I'm not in her head, so I don't know what actually may have happened. But she may have felt abandoned, and also by her mom too, because all of a sudden her mom had to become a single mother. And a single mother fearing for 2 daughters, she may have neglected them sometimes, because she has to work to make ends meet. So it's not really her fault. So that could have caused even further abandonment issues in her, feeling like both parents are not there for her, and she did not also fit in with the other kids because her brain was flawed. So if she's abandoned by everybody, then drugs are the only things that can be there for her, even though it had to be God. And also in season 2, it may have even made it worse, because she also felt abandoned and betrayed by Jews. It must have reinforced the abandonment issues that, I should always be isolated. I shouldn't get too close to people, otherwise they'll abandon me. My only best friend is drugs. Maybe that could be why she even relapsed again. So the failure to be a good sister may have just made her give up and just resort to her safety blanket, which is drugs. Because if her sister has already seen her vomiting and already dying, what's the use of trying to fix things? I'm already a bad sister, let me just be a bad sister kind of thing. She was in a lot of the scenes, oh my goodness, how she was shouting on her mom and her sister and things like that. This is where I feel like this is when she may have felt that I'm already a bad sister, I'm already a bad daughter, so let me be, and let me just be with my safety blanket, the person that will accept me for me. What kind of help does Rue need? She needs help with her addiction. She needs help with abandonment issues. And the only help I can give her is God. God is the only help. God is the only one that can help her. Because God says He will never leave you and He will never forsake you. God will never abandon you no matter what. So if you always go to Him, and if you make Him your best friend, He's always going to be there for you. And this is a word to Rue and to you too. She needs addiction treatment, detoxification, inpatient or outpatient rehab program. I feel like that's what she was doing, but she has to actually take it seriously and not be lying. Medication assisted treatment. That may not be as wise because she's already addicted to medication and she knows how to overdose on them, but it could be an option. Ongoing counseling. Yes, she really does need counseling and therapy. It's going to be very helpful to her. And support groups. I think support groups, that's when she was going with that man, where they all talk about their addictions and how they are able to overcome it and how they are struggling from it. if she actually takes them seriously, it's actually going to be helpful for her. Mental health support. So Rue also struggles with mental health issues like depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts. My number one support, of course, is God, because God is the only one who can heal you from the inside out. Medication can help cure symptoms, it can help treat you, but it cannot cure you. God is the only one that can cure you. So she needs to seek and find God, form a relationship with God, attend churches so that she can get support from other people who also share their testimony, so she can also get better. So the mental health support, she could get support with therapy, good. Medication, I don't advise it, but it's an option. Support from loved ones. Like, at least with Rue, she has her family that loves her, even if she's missing one. Her mom loves her, her sister loves her. Her sister is made her literally an idol. Yet she's not able to embrace the love that they have for her. She's just hurting them because they love her so much, and she's hurting them.
My dad's dead. Kind of keeps you from admitting what a shit fucking mother you are. You hear that?
That's why the mom even said she's actually going to give her up and then focus on the other daughter, because she's also, by focusing so much on Rue, she's neglecting her other daughter. And the other daughter, it may not be drugs, but it could be sex. It could be like Maddie and Cassie. It could be sex that she will resort to. It could be boys. It could be smoking. It could be anything else. So yes, that's why the mom actually needs to focus on her other daughter. But for Rue, she actually needs to embrace the support that her family has for her. Her family does not want to kill her. Her family wants to love her. Her family loves her. And that's why they keep beckoning, forcing her to go and get help. So she actually needs to listen to their support and accept and embrace it, because not everybody can have that. With support, if she's in a facility like a rehab facility or whatsoever, support could include check-ins, encouragement from her family, and emotional support, which I feel like her family is already doing. She just needs to take it in and not always be mocking people like how she's mocking God, or just seeing it as they don't know who she is, or they are not letting her be who she is. And I feel like she needs to be more grateful to her mom. She needs to realize that her mom is a single parent working overtime. So if anything, her mom should be the one addicted to drugs and whatnot, but her mom is trying to stand her ground and trying to look after her daughters. Yeah, she's putting her mom through this hell.
Was the most frightening
she has to
moment
try and see things from her mom's perspective. She's not the only one who is being through pain and trauma. Her mom lost her husband,
to have her,
the man that
find you unconscious.
she vowed to be with for life. She lost him. So imagine how she must feel if she tries to see from other people's perspective and not make it always about her. I feel like that would make it easier for her to start the healing process. And then the last tip, which is the first, a relationship with God. She doesn't only get a relationship with the Creator, the Creator who loves her unconditionally, but she also gets a supportive community that wants the best for her, especially if she attends a church or a youth group. A community that wants her to get better, a community that will not judge her, a community that will share their testimonies and their stories, because every Christian has been through something. Christians are not people that are just perfect. No, you have to breathe through something to realize, oh, I actually do need God. And then you get to God. So, some Christians have the worst, is it the worst or the best testimonies? So it's like when you listen to what some people have been through, or who some people were before they found God. So just by listening to other people's testimonies, she will be able to realize that she's not that far away to get close to God. And she's not that bad or evil. We are all evil. We are all evil. No matter what you've done or no matter who you are evil. But the grace of God is able to cover every evilness. The blood of Jesus Christ is able to cover anything you've been through. Any toxicity, any drug addiction, any murder, whatsoever. The blood of Christ is able to cover it. So once she comes to God and she realizes that, then she will know, oh, God died for me, even though I didn't deserve it. God died for me, and I can be part of His family. These are some verses that I found that I feel like will be very helpful for Rue. Cast all your anxiety and your cares onto God, because He cares for you. So this means that Rue can turn to God for with all her worries and her burdens. Nothing is going to burden God. God wants to listen, and God wants to be there for her. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This verse will make Ru understand, and you understand that you can do everything, even the hardest things. Even she going through this withdrawal that it seems like it's hell and the most painful thing ever. When she does it with the strength of God, and she knows that she can do everything, no withdrawal symptoms or whatsoever will be hard for her, because she can do everything. No matter how hard it is, she can stand her ground and it's going to be okay. Matthew 11:23. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I'll give you rest. So this verse invites Ruth to take rest and solace in God. That she does not need to be running around trying to look for somebody who will love her. She does not need to try and find her rest or her solace or her safety blanket in drugs. She should rest in God. He will give her rest. And whenever she feels tired, actually from the drugs or from fighting with her mom, whatever it is, God is going to give her rest. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. So this verse is going to remind Ruth that God has a purpose and a plan for her. No matter how her brain is wired, or no matter how much she does not fit in, or even if she's a drug addict, she does not have to be that no longer. She can be who God called her to be, because God made her on this earth for a purpose. She's needed on this earth, and that's why God made her. So by relying on God and trusting God, He's able to carry out the plans and the purpose He has for her life freely, because she has given Him the go-ahead to do so. Psalms 34:18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Even though her heart is broken, her heart is shattered from her father's death, God is near to her. And God is not going to give her something that she cannot handle. So if her father died, it may be the most tragic thing that happened, but God can work everything out for her good. The divorce that happened with my mom and my dad, I thought it's the worst thing ever. But God worked that out for my good. I don't know. There's a lot of things. Maybe if we were together, I may not have developed into the woman I am now. And I may not be as resilient. I may not be as much as a go-getter, an ambitious person. But because I knew that if my parents were together and everything was given to me so freely, I may not be that. So God can use even the worst things and work it out for good, because that's God for you. He can take the worst things and make it into something good. So even though her father passed away, there's still good that can come from it. Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him and He will make straight your paths. So this is a verse to remind Ruth to rely on His wisdom and His guidance. That you should trust Him in everything, because she's not wise, she's not knowledgeable. So she should trust in Him and the path that He has for her. And every path that she goes on will be straight. The next video is coming up in 1, 2. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, my royal babes. And I'll see you in the next video. Watch the next video about Cassie or about Maddie. See you. Hi guys, so this is my website. So that's the homepage. It's all about godly femininity, and the blog is more on a Christian take on social issues. Yeah, so please check it out and become a certified royal babe by subscribing to the blog. See, like I did. For God so loved you that He gave His only Son, so you and I will believe in Him and not perish, but have everlasting life.